following program is brought to you in living color.
Ladies and gentlemen, let the attack begin.
What are you doing here?
Testing for radioactivity.
Radioactivity? What is this radioactivity?
Warning. The program you're about to hear does not necessarily share the opinions and viewpoints of this radio station. Some of the material and interviews have been altered for entertainment purposes only. If you have any complaints about the Dorf On Sports radio program, please contact our customer care service center at 1-800.
Yo, mama!
And now, the most eye-popping, jaw-dropping, smash-mouth, bone-crunching, heart-stopping, cutting-edge, interactive sports commentary show on the radio. Dorf On Sports. Now, here's your host, Andy Dorf.
Good morning, sports fans all across the globe. Welcome in. We are the hottest sports variety program. Mike Wilson, Andy Dorf, getting you through another Dorf On Sports weekend edition with so much happening in the sports world, from Country House 65-1 winning at the Derby via disqualification. You had Canelo outpointing Jacobs to further unify the division. You had Steph Curry going 7 of 23 from the performance, and he says it wasn't his night. Houston Rockets are back in that series. NHL playoffs, wow, that was some unbelievable stuff too. The Bruins getting a win, the Sharks getting a win. Major League Baseball going in full throttle as well. Man, oh man, the sports world is really, really rocking and rolling at this point. Mike Wilson, good morning, my friend. How are you, brother?
I'm doing okay, considering. I mean, you know how I'm feeling, but yeah, you're right. It's just rocking and roll right now in the sports world, and it's just weird to hear about the Kentucky Derby and the disqualification, man.
Yeah, I mean, what in the world happened at the 2019 Kentucky Derby, man? I don't know if we've ever seen anything like that before. I know I haven't for sure, but it was wild. It was weird. But it was sports, man, and those are four-legged animals running around, and those are four-legged athletes, if you will. But anyways, I do hear the music. I know we got to take a quick pause for the cause. We'll come back on the other side with our professor of sports, none other than John Poulter. We'll talk some hockey. We'll talk some baseball. We're just getting loose, just getting warmed up. He's Mike Wilson. I'm Andy Dorf. It is the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. We'll be back.
iHeartRadio, an app so powerful, it holds 20 million songs from 450,000 artists, thousands of the best live radio stations, custom stations, and stations created just for you. It's anywhere and it's everywhere. Millions of songs, thousands of stations, one free app. iHeartRadio is that easy. Download the app today or listen online at iHeartRadio.com.
You're listening to Dorf On Sports here on your favorite app. Now, here's Andy.
All righty, everybody. Welcome back in. Mike Wilson, Andy Dorf, getting you through another Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. Get at us. Let's talk about the week that was, the weekend that's still kind of going on. 1-800-878-7529. Hit us up on Twitter. For Mike, Pigskin Opinion. For me, it's Dorf On Sports or Dorf Online. Please check out the website, too, DorfOnSportsRadio.com. At this time, each and every week, though, we do hook up with our professor of sports, none other than John Poulter, who comes to us all the way from Canada. John, good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Andy. Good morning, Mike. Doing very well, thanks. How about the two of you?
Can't complain. You know, we're living the dream. We're living in paradise here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's just starting to get a little warm, but other than that, we're living the dream, man. We truly are living the dream. And speaking of living the dream, the NHL playoff hockey is going on right now, and as you know, I know, Mike knows, and everybody else knows, it could very easily be the best playoff of them all when we're talking basketball, baseball, football, hockey, you name it. I really think that this is right up there as far as entertainment value goes. and we're getting great series from the Boston, Columbus series to the Colorado and San Jose series. On the other side, we're just getting great hockey right now, John, aren't we?
Well, we certainly are, and it's sort of been a playoff season of contrasts when you look at it. Almost completed the second round, three of the four series still to be decided, all heading to Game 6. But when you look at it, we've had 4-game sweeps, we've had 6 or 7-game series, we've had blowouts, we've had close games, we've had upsets, we've had favorites winning, we've had home teams winning about half the games, road teams winning about half the games. We've seen just a little bit of most everything this playoff season. It might be one of the most entertaining postseasons I've seen in any sport in any length of time. It's always interesting to turn on the TV and just see what news might be made tonight.
Very true. Mike, go ahead, jump in, brother.
No, I was just going to say that Boston game last night just was crazy. I mean, what's led to Boston's success in the playoffs so far?
Well, I think Boston has always been a team that's built for the playoffs, Mike. They're very much a lunch bucket team, a working team, sort of the image of the Bruins from the early 70s and into the 80s and into the 90s and now into the 2000s. I think we've seen that. It's just a well-coached team. It's a working-class team. They're solid, and a lot of their star players were hurt during the season. They're now healthy. And I think Boston is perhaps more than any other team taking advantage of the fact that they're now looking at this field and saying, hey, this Stanley Cup is wide open. With all of the big names already out, the top 4 division teams already gone, Winnipeg gone, the Islanders gone in 4 games to Carolina, which frankly was a bit of a surprise. I kind of thought Carolina could win that series, but really I didn't see it being over in 4 games. I just think Boston has perhaps seized the opportunity in a wide-open race more than any other team has.
You know, that's my squad right now, and we talked a little bit about them last week as Carolina. I said to you, a team gets hot. They start that momentum, and we know how momentum can carry teams. They swept the Islanders, like you said, kind of a shock there, kind of a shock that they got through the first round the way that they got through the first round as well. I'm telling you, man, they're hot, and they're a team right now that I don't think anybody wants to play with. You're talking about the Bruins, both you guys, but talk a little bit about Carolina and the run that they're on right now. It's absolutely magnificent, John.
It certainly is. I mean, it's not something that we expected, quite frankly. The number 7 seed didn't really clinch a playoff game until a playoff spot until about the last 4 or 5 games of the regular season. Went into Washington, became the first road team in that series to win a game when they stole Game 7. Full value for their money, no luck involved there. They played better than Washington did that night. Then they took on the Islanders, who in the regular season this year had the best goals against average of any team in the league. So they basically shut down the best defensive team there was. They've won 8 out of their... I was going to say 8 out of their last 9. That's actually not true. They won 4 of their last... Yeah, I guess it is true. They won 4 of their last 5 in the Washington series, 4 straight in the Islander series. So, to your point, yes, they're on a roll. Question is, how far does momentum carry them? Maybe part of the issue might be if that Boston series with Columbus goes 7 games, the Hurricanes might find themselves idle for a little while, and we'll get back to that old rust versus rest situation. Which I think hurt the Islanders, quite frankly, in their series with Carolina, because Carolina was the team that had played 7 games. So it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. Certainly, the Carolina team we're seeing now is a much different team than we saw for the majority of the regular season. They will be without Trevor Van Riemsdyk, one of their better defensemen, for the rest of the season, though he suffered a shoulder injury and has had surgery for it, so he's done for the year. That's going to affect them because that's a pretty solid defense that they have. But at the end of the day, I still think Carolina's a very good team. I'm not certain that they're Stanley Cup quality, but to your point, they're on a heck of a roll right now, and momentum is a big thing in sport.
Talk about the San Jose Colorado Avalanche series. The Sharks are up 3-2. I just remember back in the day when Colorado was just one of those teams you could always count on to get into the conference finals or the Stanley Cup finals. Is San Jose going to close this out? Does Colorado have enough to win the next two in advance? What's going to happen here?
Well, Game 6 will be in Colorado, so you'd have to think that in a very close series, Colorado probably has a very good chance of sending that to Game 7 in San Jose. I've been a little bit surprised with the performance of the Avalanche in this series, based on the fact that they dealt with the Calgary Flames so easily in round 1. And not to take anything away from San Jose, I think Calgary's a better hockey club, but they seem to be struggling a little bit more against San Jose than they did against Calgary. It's been a very tight series, 3-2, obviously, after 5 games. Each team has won once on the road. The one thing that sort of disappointed me and surprised me both at the same time in the last game was the ineffectiveness of Nathan MacKinnon. And to my mind, McKinnon's right up there. If he's not in the top 3 players in the league, he's certainly in the top 5. I was a little disappointed in what to me looked like a pretty lackluster experience from him in Game 5. I'm not really sure whether he's hurt or what the issue is, but he just didn't seem to be hustling the way that he has been hustling for most of the season and certainly for most of the playoffs. He's a huge part of that team, somebody they look to for a lot of talent, a lot of leadership by way of personality, and a lot of leadership by the way of talent. So I think he has to get his game turned around a little bit and get back to where he was earlier in the playoffs. But in answer to your question, can they win 2 games against San Jose? Yeah, I don't think it's impossible. You'd much rather be up 3-2 after 5 games than down 3-2 after 5 games, but I think they're in there with a pretty good shot, Mike.
That's the voice of John Poulter, our professor of sports, breaking down the NHL playoffs. They've been exciting. If you haven't checked them out, absolutely start turning on and watching. St. Louis and Dallas go at it a little bit later today. Who do you think winds up taking that one, John?
Well, that's probably been the most even series, and for the second consecutive series, St. Louis find themselves in perhaps the most even series of all the ones that are being played. I was a little surprised that St. Louis came out as flat as they did in Game 5 at home the other night. I thought that Ben Bishop probably stole the game for Dallas. St. Louis were pressing an awful lot in the last 5 or 7 minutes of that game. I thought they were going to tie it. I thought they deserved to tie it and send the game to overtime. Bishop came up big. We all know that playoff goaltending is tremendously important. I see that as going 7 games, and quite frankly, I think it's a toss-up because I think the teams are just so close in talent. You look at the talent on paper, and you'd have to think that St. Louis has the better team, but from what I've seen on the ice right now, they're pretty even.
Yeah, NHL hockey playoffs, man. I'm telling you right now, people, if you don't know, I'm seriously telling you, it's like the best thing out there. It is all that more, trust me. And I don't know if I can compare. Look, think about the overtime games that you have in NHL hockey playoffs, and then the other night when we had the 4 overtime game with Denver and Portland. I mean, honestly, these guys are all throwing it out there on the line. I know we got to take a break. I hear the music. We'll come back and we'll continue with our professor of sports, John Poulter, and we'll switch gears. We'll talk a little Major League Baseball. Mike Wilson, Andy Dorf, it is the Dorf on Sports Weekend Edition. We'll be back, everybody.
Bomeister, met from behind by Dickinson, allowing Zuccarello to play the puck. Ahead now to Sagan, down the left side, puts on the brakes. Cross ice for Klingberg. Klingberg shoots, he scores!
This is Dorf on Sports.
This one driven to center field. Inciarte going back, and that ball's going to be gone. Home run for Manny Machado, straight away center field. That swing of the bat ties the game with his 5th home run. Manny Machado makes it 1-1 in Atlanta.
You're listening to Dorf On Sports here on your favorite app. Now, here's Andy.
Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back. Mike Wilson, Andy Dorf, getting you through another Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. You can always get at us. Let's talk about it. 1-800-878-7529. Hit us up on Twitter for Mike, Pigskin Opinion. For me, it's Dorf On Sports or Dorf Online. Check out the website, too. It's dorfonsportsradio.com. Obviously, we heard the clip. We're going to talk a little Major League Baseball at this point. And, John, I guess we got to start the conversation with Cody Bellinger and the way that he's gotten out of the gates. Just unbelievable, to be honest with you. What a month of April for that kid. But going to miss some games after separating a shoulder. How much do you think that's going to slow him down? And what can you say about the start of this kid's season?
Well, it's certainly been a great start for him. We talked last week about how close he was to Yelich in terms of home runs and RBIs. He's had a terrific first month and sort of started to carry that over into the second month. But as you say, going to be out for a little while. I'm not sure what the latest prognosis is in terms of how long he's going to be out. But certainly it's going to hurt the Dodgers because this is a kid that he's good defensively, he's good on the base paths, he's obviously good with his bat. I think it's going to hurt the Dodgers. But at the end of the day, I think the Dodgers are still a pretty deep organization, so I suspect that they'll find some way to fill in for him. Obviously, with a shoulder injury, any player is going to be a little tentative when he comes back, so it may take him a little bit of time once he does get back in the lineup, but he's young, so he should heal fairly quickly. I'd have to think that this is more of a bit of a bump in the road than it is a major roadblock for him.
John, the Diamondbacks are only a game back right now. They're sitting there at 20-13. They're 8-2 in their last 10. What has gone right for the Diamondbacks in their recent past to put them where they're at?
Well, obviously the pitching of Zach Greinke is a major piece of that. I believe he's leading the National League in wins. I also think that a lot of people have perhaps overlooked that Diamondback team, and myself included. When I looked at some of the players that they traded and or let walk away at the end of last season, I kind of wondered whether they had thrown up the white flag and they were going to go into a major rebuild mode. But as we've spoken before, I think Torey Lovullo deserves a tremendous amount of credit for what he gets out of this ball club, because if you put the names on paper, they're not as fancy as the Dodgers, they're not as well known as the Dodgers, but to your point, here they are 6 weeks into the season, they're only a game behind, 8-2 in their last 10, winners of their last 4. They're going to give the Dodgers a run for their money, certainly for the short term. I kind of have my doubts whether they can do it for the length of the season. Only time will tell. But from what I've seen so far, I've been pleasantly surprised with the Diamondbacks. They might be one of my surprise teams in terms of what they have produced on the field so far this Major League season.
No, I would absolutely agree with that. Very impressive. And, yep, Torey does more with less all the time. Hey, let me ask you this. Looking at the standings, nobody's really tearing up the league right now, whereas, last year we had several teams winning 100 games. I mean, at this point, it doesn't look necessarily like we're going to have one team cracking that 100 mark plateau. So what can you say? Is it parity? Is it bad baseball? What is it, John?
I think it's probably more parity than anything else, Andy. We've had a couple of teams come out of the gate a lot quicker than we anticipated. I'm thinking specifically Tampa Bay and Minnesota here when I make that comment. And don't look now, but all of a sudden the Minnesota Twins have the best percentage in Major League Baseball at .645, slightly ahead of Tampa Bay and the Dodgers. I think that's a big piece of it. We've also had the disappointments of teams like the Boston Red Sox, the Chicago Cubs, both getting very slow starts, but starting to get back into a groove and now climbing back into their respective division races. We've had the Yankees slowed down a little bit, not an awful lot, but a little bit through their injury string. They're still sitting 2.5 games behind Tampa Bay. I just think that we're seeing a lot more competitive baseball, and we sort of knew that the National League East was going to be a little bit different this year. For a number of years, the Washington Nationals have been far and away the best team talent-wise on paper and have sort of run away with that division in the regular season. But we knew that over the winter, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and the Mets all strengthened themselves a little bit. And really, the Miami Marlins are the only weak sister in that division. So all of a sudden, you've got 4 of the 5 teams in a division that are so close, and they with the way the schedule is made up, they play each other an awful lot. So you have teams that are fairly close in talent playing each other an awful lot. You're going to get a lot of 500 teams, and that's sort of essentially what we have in the National League East. And as I said, the Cubs are starting to get back into a little bit. They're pushing the Cardinals. They're now down to a half a game lead in that division, and that may change today if the Cubs beat the Cardinals in today's game. So I think it's a combination of things, and again, it's early in the season, so we still have an awful lot to look forward to, but I would think it's a combination of the fact that some teams have come out of the gate a little bit better than we expected, and some of the teams that we expected to be quite powerful and sort of run roughshod over their division haven't done so.
John, you look at the American League Central and you look at the American League East, and the 2 teams, like you were just talking about, teams have gotten out a little better than we originally thought. Speaking of those two of those teams are Tampa Bay and Minnesota. What's led to their early season success?
Well, with Tampa Bay, it's pitching the way that it usually is. Here we have a team that has the best run differential at plus 46 in Major League Baseball. They've given up the least runs in Major League Baseball at 103. Again, that's a well-coached team. It's a well-managed team. It's a team that is young. It's developing. They build through the farm system with some very astute trades made from time to time that sort of strengthen them. And, I'm looking at Tyler Glasnow as a classic example. He has turned out, in his short time in Tampa Bay, he's turned out to be a much better pitcher than anything we saw out of him when he was with Pittsburgh. So I have to kind of think that, this is maybe another situation where the Tampa Bay pitching coaches have started to work with a guy and have seen something that they like, and they've seen something that needs some work, and they've fixed it, and all of a sudden we've got a pretty good pitcher. So I think that's the situation there. I think Minnesota probably is just taking advantage of the fact that they're in an extremely weak division, and quite frankly, Cleveland and Minnesota, to me, are the only 2 reasonable teams in that Central Division, the only 2 teams that I think have an opportunity to win it. And I think Minnesota's window opened a little bit later in the late part of this week with the unfortunate injury to Corey Kluber, who's obviously going to miss some starts after taking that line drive off his forearm. So chance for the Minnesota Twins to make some hay and build up a little bit of a lead over Cleveland. But again, that's a 2-horse race, whereas the American League East, I think, is a 3-horse race. Tampa Bay, the Yankees, and Boston. Tampa Bay is going to have a tougher time winning that division than Minnesota is going to have winning the Central, in my mind.
Hey, what can you tell us about Vladdy Jr. real quick, the phenom for the Blue Jays?
Well, I hope he lives up to the hype. He's certainly been well written up. No question that we always knew that his bat was going to get into the major leagues. We always felt his defense and his base running abilities were going to be perhaps a little bit suspect, and certainly not up to the level of his hitting. But I've been quite impressed with what I've seen so far. He's a big man. He weighs about 250. He's generously listed at 250. My guess is he's probably about 260, which is kind of big for a 20-year-old. But he moves laterally a lot better than I thought he did, and he's a little bit like Sandoval in that respect, Andy. He's a big man, but he moves quite well at third base. Haven't seen much of him on the bases because whenever he's gotten on base late in the game, they've pinch ran for him. So that is still something we have to determine. But certainly his bat is major league ready. Whether he can hang in there for the rest of the season and do it at the pace that he's been doing at it is another story. But he's in a great spot at a great time. He's on a young team that's developing, and he's going to sell some tickets. There's no question about that. But you look around the ballpark, and there's a heck of a lot of 27 Guerrero Jr. Sweaters sitting in the seats. So obviously, from a merchandising standpoint, the Blue Jays are very happy as well.
Very good, John. Always appreciate your time. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. We'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, my pleasure as always, guys. Take care, and we'll chat next week.
John Poulter, our professor of sports, breaking it down, man. Nobody does it like John. When we talk NHL hockey, we have John. When we talk Major League Baseball, we have John. And nobody breaks it down like John Poulter, so we're glad to have him. We're going to take a quick pause for the cause. We'll come back on the other side. We'll rap about the NBA. Got to get into that a little bit because Boston, Milwaukee's exciting. All of them are exciting. They're all 2-1 right now, man. And if you don't like that, then there's something wrong with you. We got to take a break. He's Mike Wilson. I'm Andy Dorf. It is the Dorf on Sports Weekend Edition. We'll be back.
This is Dorf on Sports.
Lowry with 10, 9, 8, gets it to Kawhi, drive, pull up, jumper, banks it in, and raises his fist. Kawhi Leonard banks home a 16-footer. Toronto up 127-125.
This is Dorf on Sports.
Welcome back, everybody. Mike Wilson, Andy Dorf, getting you through another Dorf on Sports Weekend Edition. You can get at us. We can talk about it. 1-800-878-7529. You can hit us up on Twitter. For Mike, it's going to be Pigskin Opinion. For me, it's going to be Dorf on Sports or Dorf Online. You can always check out the website, too. It's dorfonsportsradio.com. All right, man. So, Mike, he's got that Kyle Lowry clip going right there, and we got to talk a little bit about Kyle Lowry, or the fact that Kyle Lowry is not much of a show when it comes to the NBA playoffs. I don't know what goes on with this cat, man. Kawhi Leonard doing everything he possibly can to help his Toronto Raptors get a victory and playing his heart out. And then Kyle Lowry, it's like the guy's afraid to play basketball right now, man. Can you explain it?
I can't explain it. Toronto already had kind of a mental thing going on coming into the playoffs anyways. They've had this mental block about getting past LeBron. Well, now LeBron's not here. Now Kyle Lowry has something going on where he just can't play. He's not scoring. He's not helping out. And Kawhi is, with Kawhi's free agency coming up, certainly behind the scenes, he has to be thinking, if I wanted to stay, do I really want to stay with a guy who's not going to show up in the playoffs? This kind of play by Lowry, is probably going to get them knocked out of the playoffs. I know it's 2-1 and it's close right now, but the way Philly's playing, the way Philly has confidence going right now, it wouldn't shock me if Philly goes up 3-1 and then looks to close it out up in Toronto.
Yeah, no, look, at the end of the day, you're only as good as the next game you play. So the Raptors, they need a victory, man. They play at 12:30, I believe, our time against the Raptors, 76ers going at it. Like you said, 76ers 2-1 lead right now, could take a commanding 3-1 lead. And it's weird because, when you look at the starting lineup for the Sixers, I'm like, they've got a really good starting lineup. What will their bench do for them? Raptors, it's kind of like the opposite. I'm expecting more out of their bench, and their bench really hasn't delivered for them. Gasol, he's got to be better. Powell's got to be better. Do you bring Van Vliet? Would you play Van Vliet instead of playing Kyle Lowry? Would you sit Kyle Lowry? What do you do there?
No, I would stay with Kyle Lowry. Even though he's shown the inconsistency, it's always better to have that guy coming off the bench that can provide some instant offense. You don't know how a bench guy is really going to react being a starter. That's a different mindset. So I would stay with what's going on, but I would have a somewhat of a quick trigger to replace Lowry if it's obvious that he's not scoring, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing.
And to your point about Kawhi, after the season, I'm sorry, but there's no way in hell he's staying in Toronto. When you think about it, bro, they do not.
No, I agree.
No, but they don't have a number 2 guy. You know, he's definitely shown that he can be that number 1 guy again. We're seeing that out of Kawhi. But they don't have a reliable number 2. I don't know. Everything tells me that he's leaving, and it really makes no difference as to what happens in the playoffs. And again, a lot will be determined from all of these game 4s when you think about it. I mean, every series is 2-1 right now. And let me ask you something, because I'm so tired about hearing, a series isn't a series until a road team wins. Well, okay, we got that right away with the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, and now we're back to 2-1 there, where, you know what, it's almost like you've done what you're supposed to do. It's just happened in a different way, okay? So Milwaukee loses 1 at home. They split. That's in Milwaukee. Now they go to Boston. They've gotten the first one there. Now they're looking to take a crazy 3-1 lead, when after game 1, everybody's talking about Boston, beating Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's overhyped, and this and that and the other. I mean, here's the deal, man. I'm tired about hearing people say, look, a series isn't a series until somebody wins on somebody else's floor. Well, let me ask you this. If everybody wins on everybody's floor, if the Bucks win 2 at home, Boston wins 2 at home, and you wind up going 7 games, what the hell's the difference, man? So I'm just tired about hearing people say, well, a series isn't a series until a road team wins. Well, it can be a series if everybody takes care of their damn business at home. Can't it, Mike?
It absolutely can. I mean, that's kind of the way I've thought about it. If you're the road team, that what you want to do is get the split. Get out of town, get the split, and maybe take care of stuff at home. But, a series is a series once the ball goes up in the first game. I mean, to me, anything can happen. I mean, you and I both know that. All that bluster coming out of it wasn't coming out of my mouth when the Celtics won game 1. Did I feel good that they won game 1 the way they did? Yeah. But then they just gave it back, and they reverted back to not shooting well, making poor decisions, and Milwaukee did exactly what Milwaukee's been doing all year, and letting the freak do his thing, spreading the court out, getting the 3-point shooters their wide open looks, and have Boston scrambling. And, that whole, it's not a series until someone wins on the road. Let's not forget about Portland at all. I mean, they did it on the road in Denver as well. So I don't know. I just want people to sit back and enjoy this series, because the series are so intriguing and so exciting right now that, who cares who wins on the road unless you're rooting for a certain team. It's just good entertainment. It's appointment television right now in the NBA.
I mean, we didn't even talk about the 4-overtime game between Denver and the Blazers the other day. It was absolutely ridiculous, man. What a fantastic ball game that was. It was just absolutely amazing. Joker is great, man. I really like that guy a lot. I mean, he can get the triple-double all the time. But I don't know, man. He's missing something, okay? And then as far as we've talked about this before, too, having that one go-to guy. The Blazers have a real great luxury. They've got 2 guys. They can go to McCollum or they can go to Dame. And I think we know who they really want to go to. In most cases, it's going to be Dame. And you know what? If Dame can't get it done, well, then they've got this really nice second fiddle guy, McCollum, who can get the job done when Dame can't usually. But I think that's ultimately where the Nuggets are struggling. Like, who's that guy that takes that big shot? Is it Murray? Is it Harris? Is it Joker? Is it Millsap? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that they're lacking that one guy that says, give me the damn ball, I'm going to put in the work.
No, that's exactly right. And you've heard me say that for a long time about, who's their closer. If they need someone to just go get them a bucket at the end of the game, sure, you can go to Joker, but who else are you going to go to if Joker can't get the job done? I mean, because the teams are going to be focusing on him. Is it Murray? Is it, who is it? And that's going to be the question for Denver if they're going to get out of this series and even beyond this series. one thing that I'll say about Portland, that's a tough place to win a game. The Rose Garden up there, or the Moda Center, whatever they call it now, that's a tough place to play. So it doesn't surprise me that the Blazers are tough at home. But I'll give one little shout out here is to the guy who's sucking it up and doing the yeoman's work on the block is Enes Kanter. I mean, that guy, his left shoulder, his left shoulder is about as bad as you can probably do it. He's getting treatment before the game. He's getting treatment after the game. I'm sure he's getting treatment at halftime, and he's sucking it up and doing what Portland needs him to do. And it's just been impressive on Kanter's part.
Well, look, they had their injury to their big guy. Kanter stepped up. Yeah. Everybody stepped up for them. Collins has stepped up. I mean, they've gotten some great play from their bigs, and they've had to have that. Hey, speaking of great players and what they're doing, what I've noticed, let's talk a little Milwaukee-Boston, okay? What I noticed in Game 3 out of Milwaukee, which I truly loved, and I think he wound up taking maybe one or maybe even two by the end of the game. But like I said to you, off the air, Giannis has no business shooting the ball from past the free throw line. Okay, and right. He made a concerted effort in Game 3 to not take jumpers. He was going to the basket left and right, and he shot like 18 free throws, something like that. It was insane, okay? But truly, you talk about a guy being able to get his own shot and being that go-to guy, that closer guy. Well, if I remember correctly, that's the way that LeBron did business back in the day when LeBron was kicking ass and taking names, to be honest with you, Mike. And what Giannis is doing right now, well, you got to realize that Boston played him way different in Game 1. And you know what? Games 2 and Game 3, I don't know if Coach Bud made an adjustment, but I'll tell you what, the players made an adjustment. And bringing in Nico to play in the starting lineup has also changed the dynamic a little bit, because you now have another guy that can shoot three balls, and the knock on him was his defense, but he's been stepping his defense up as of late too. And my point is this: Giannis, keep taking the damn ball to the hoop, because nobody can stop you, bud. Nobody.
Yeah, nobody can, and like you said, putting their other big in there has helped them stretch the floor, and has caused Boston to not kind of clog up the middle like they were doing in that Game 1. I mean, they were just clogging the middle. They all got back. Now Boston, on Boston's part, they're not getting back as quick, and on Milwaukee's part, hey, look, Bledsoe's pushing the ball. I see a lot more just get up the court before Boston can kind of set their defense and clock things up, and that's allowing Giannis to get to the hoop unimpeded, dunk on anybody and everybody. So I think it's adjustments with Bud. I think it's adjustments with the other people with the other players on the team. So it's an overall just team adjustment to get the ball up the court quicker and into the guy's hands that you want the ball in.
Look, man, you got an ultimate pro there in Boston in Al Horford, who, by the way, yes. I got to tell you a story on the other side when we come back. I got to tell you a story about Tito Horford. But you've got the ultimate pro right there in a guy named Al Horford. Well, you know what? The Bucks have the ultimate pro in a guy by the name of George Hill. So right. Look, and Bledsoe, you mentioned him. He hasn't showed up, really. There's something going on. Like, Boston is totally in that dude's head. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue rapping about this on the other side a little bit. He's Mike Wilson. I'm Andy Dorf. It is the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. We'll be back, everybody. Keep it close.
This is Dorf On Sports.
All right, everybody. Welcome back for the final time this hour here on the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition with Mike Wilson. I'm Andy Dorf. You can always get at us, 1-800-878-7529. You can hit us up on Twitter for Mike, Pigskin Opinion. For me, it's Dorf On Sports or Dorf Online. Check out that website, too. It's dorfonsportsradio.com. All right, Mike, real quickly, before the break, I told you I had a little bit of a story about Tito Horford for you. And obviously the father of Al Horford. Boston playing Milwaukee right now. Tito played for the Milwaukee Bucks back in the day. And true story, long time ago, my father, big-time sponsor of the Milwaukee Bucks, his company back in the day, and we had the privilege of spending the whole day with Tito Horford, my brothers and myself and my father, driving around in a limousine as he was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks. And my father was in the food business, and he had a cookie line called Frookies. So they came up with a slogan called Frookies for Rookies. Tito Horford was with the Milwaukee Bucks at that time, went around with us the whole day at the displays and things along those lines, signed autographs for people, got to spend, 8, maybe 10 hours with them, talking to them about all different kinds of things, and it definitely made an impact on my life. And true story, my brother's at the game the other day on Tuesday night, sees Tito in the crowd, goes and talks to Tito a little bit, asks him if he remembers us from back in the day. Tito says yes. The rest is history, my friend. But pretty cool stuff when you can kind of tie it all into your childhood, and then boom, you got the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Boston Celtics. One guy used to play for the Bucks. His son's playing for the Celtics. The guy is, in all honesty, it's got to be kind of tough, but just a lot of fun for him at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. No, and you're right. Horford's the ultimate pro. He's the guy. Sometimes he gets mentioned in trade rumors, and I'm like, dear God, do not trade Al Horford. He means that much to that team. To me, he's the leader of the team in his quiet fashion, but he is the ultimate pro.
Yeah, he's the glue, man. Like Brogdon's the glue, he's the glue, too. We're going to take a break. We got hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2's on the horizon. We'll be back, and I know Mike's going to hang with me for just a little bit longer, so keep it close, everybody. Andy Dorf, Mike Wilson, the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. We'll be back.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Ladies and gentlemen, let the attack begin.
What are you doing here?
Testing for radioactivity.
Radioactivity? What is this radioactivity?
Warning. The program you're about to hear does not necessarily share the opinions and viewpoints of this radio station. Some of the material and interviews have been altered for entertainment purposes only. If you have any complaints about the Dorf On Sports radio program, please contact our customer care service center at 1-800.
Yo, mama!
And now, the most eye-popping, jaw-dropping, smash-mouth, bone-crunching, heart-stopping, cutting-edge, interactive sports commentary show on the radio. Dorf On Sports. Now, here's your host, Andy Dorf.
Good morning to some, good afternoon to others, and maybe even good evening to some people. Welcome in. It is the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. I'm Andy Dorf alongside Mike Wilson, getting you through hour number 2. And I'll tell you what, man, from Country House 65-1 winning the Kentucky Derby on a disqualification to Steph Curry shooting 7 of 23 and saying it wasn't his night. Anything can happen in the sports world. That's for damn sure. Anything can happen in the sports world. Mike Wilson, how you doing, brother?
I'm here for right now. I'm not going to say anything bad against Chipotle, but it's all good. But you're exactly right. It's all good with the NBA playoffs with me, even though my Boston Celtics are down 2-1 to your hometown Milwaukee Bucks.
Hey, let me ask you this before I let you get out of here today, and I do appreciate you helping me out. What do you think of the Kentucky Derby? What do you think of the disqualification? It's like people get so jacked up about this thing, and then boom, it's over.
It's Exactly. I'll say this. The Kentucky Derby is certainly one of those things that's on my bucket list to go watch. But, yeah, you're exactly right. In a blink of an eye, it's over. I have actually yet to see the whole race in its entirety, so just by hearing what happened was just crazy.
All right, dude. You take care, get better, feel well, and we'll catch up next week. How does that sound?
That sounds perfect, man. And go Celtics.
All right, man. Keep it close, everybody. I'm just getting warmed up. A ton to get into. It is the Dorf on Sports Weekend Edition. He's Mike Wilson. I'm Andy Dorf. I'll be back.
You're listening to Dorf on Sports here on your favorite app. Now, here's Andy.
All righty, people. Welcome back in. 1-800-878-7529. Hit me up on the Twitter. Dorf on Sports, Dorf Online. Check out my website, too. It's dorfonsportsradio.com. What a crazy, wild world of sports that we live in. Seriously. From what happened at the Kentucky Derby, disqualification, getting that victory for Country House, 65-1. Then you have the boys of summer going at it with Major League Baseball. And guys like Cody Bellinger having phenomenal, tremendous, amazing seasons. Steph Curry struggling for the Golden State Warriors. Lots to talk about in the sports world, that's for sure. Canelo outpointing Jacobs, and here's where I am on the boxing world. I'm not that interested, and the reason that is because more often than not, you don't trust or believe what the outcome of a boxing match is going to be, and you don't like how the outcome happens either. In more cases than not, you're unhappy with the decision. Probably where a lot of people are right now with Canelo and Jacobs. And when I think about the Kentucky Derby, and like I said, it's you get all jacked up about something that literally takes a minute or two. And I know it's a bucket list thing for my man Mike Wilson. I don't see it as a bucket list thing for me. Not that interested in that either. Not my crowd. Sorry, just not my thing. But it doesn't mean that it's not exciting. It's not fun for some people, because it is. Absolutely it is. Here's the real truth. I guess what I've been able to do in general with whatever sport, whether it's horse racing or ice hockey, football, handball, pickleball, tennis, I've been able to find an appreciation and a joy for just about any and all sports. Again, whether or not I spend a lot of time watching them, I do think the way that a woman can throw the softball pitching, that is a skill, people. I sure as hell can't do it. So there's something amazing about every sport. There really is. And it's up to you to find your niche and what you like and what you can appreciate. I appreciate basketball. I appreciate football. I appreciate hockey. I appreciate baseball. And I appreciate every other sport, too, for crying out loud. But again, some get my attention more than others. And it's not to say that one is more important than the other. It's not what I'm saying. Just saying that certain things intrigue me more than other things. And that's usually what I base my radio program around. But if you have anything that you want to talk about, you know how the Dorf man rolls. Whatever's on your mind is always on my mind. 1-800-878-7529. Hit me up on the Twitter, too. It's Dorf On Sports or Dorf Online. All right, I'm going to get back into some of the NBA. Because that was an interesting conversation that I was having with Mike. All these series are 2-1. And I've been hearing so much about home court, not a series until a road team wins. I heard Paul Pierce say the series is over after game 1 when the Boston Celtics won on the floor in Milwaukee at Pfizer Forum. And I hope that dude eats his words. I hope a lot of people eat their words. It's crazy how we are in the sports world as analysts, as people that are supposed to know what you're talking about. And how quickly guys will flip-flop. Paul Pierce says, after game 1, the series is over. The series is over. I wish I had that clip. I really do. I wish we had that clip. Because when you talk too soon, before a series has actually even gotten started, after one damn game, and then you look foolish at the end of it because you're wrong, man, oh man. See, I've been watching and just kind of holding back. I haven't really been active very much on social media talking about the Bucks and the Celtics. Because truth be told, I think that all of these series, whether it's the Raptors and the Sixers, the Bucks in Boston, Golden State and Houston, or the Nuggets and the Trailblazers, these are all really good series, people. And I don't give a rat's you-know-what whether or not a team is able to win on the other team's floor. To me, that's not how we're going to have a great series. It's a way where we could have a great series, sure. But it's not the only way that a series becomes a series. If everybody wins at home, then you have a series as well. But in that respect, teams like Toronto, teams like the Denver Nuggets, they're both going to have to respond because they both did take L's at home. The Milwaukee Bucks have responded to taking that L at home. And now they have regained that home court advantage. And sooner or later, see, I think in the NBA, especially in the NBA, that home court advantage, at some point, it does pay dividends. It really does. At some point, having that sixth man behind you, it seems to play a role on guys missing or making shots. And your role players play way better at home. For crying out loud. Makes no sense. But anybody that thinks that 2-1, whether or not you won on the road or you won at home and everything's just kind of chalk, well, so be it. Doesn't have to be a great series when a road team is able to win. It can be a great series if the home team wins every damn game, too. So I'm getting kind of tired of hearing all these so-called experts say, well, it's not a series, it is a series, or, you know, these guys don't know how to play, or all of a sudden you jump on and off a bandwagon is my point. So I hope that Paul Pierce has to eat his words when he said a series is over after one game of a series. Saw another guy make a comment about the Golden State Warriors and the Houston Rockets. For Game 3, if Houston didn't win Game 3, the series was over. Again, why would you say that before it actually happens? Houston winds up coming out and winning Game 3. So the point of you saying if they lose Game 3, it's over, it makes no sense. It's you trying to be news instead of just reporting what's happening. And to me, ultimately, that's what I hate most about media in general. Just report what you see, people. Don't try to predict, because when you do and you're wrong, you look like an idiot. Anyways, got to take a quick pause for the cause. Going to do it. Come back. Keep rapping about the sports world. I'm Andy Dorf. It is the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition.
Stephen Curry on the right wing gets the screen from Draymond Green. Switched on to up top by Jeff Green. Durant back out the steps. Shot fake from 3. Dribbles into a right elbow jumper and splashes it down.
Step back again. Gordon Hayward is having himself a game.
This is Dorf On Sports. You're listening to Dorf On Sports here on your favorite app. Now, here's Andy.
All righty, everybody. Welcome back in. Get at me. Let's talk. 1-800-878-7529. You can hit me up on Twitter. It's Dorf On Sports or Dorf Online. Check out the website, too, dorfonsportsradio.com. All right, I've been talking NBA basketball to myself, with Mike Wilson, obviously with you people. And now I've got a guest. I'm going to bring on Richard Anselmo, NBA insider, to kind of talk this out with me, man. Every series 2-1. We got guys talking about series over after Game 1 and Paul Pierce. We got other people saying a series isn't a series until a road team wins. However, if they go 7 without a road team winning, to me that's still a great series too. Richard, good morning, man. How are you?
Good morning. How you doing today, Andy?
I'm excited. Can't complain. I'm talking NBA basketball, with you and other people. But I mean, what do you make of how crazy of a society, how crazy the media is when you think about Paul Pierce saying the series is over after Game 1 when he's watching Milwaukee and Boston play, and you know what? After Game 1, if you're a former Boston Celtic, if you're a Boston fan, yeah, you're feeling pretty damn good about things. But on the other hand, that wasn't the Milwaukee Bucks team that we've seen all season long, and you had to think that they would figure it out at least for a few games. And to say a series is over after Game 1, that's just ridiculous, man.
It's recency bias. That's the last thing I saw, so that's just the way it is. And it never works that way. I think a lot of these series can go 7 games.
Yep.
Now, I might change my mind if Pascal Siakam doesn't play for the Raptors today.
That's true. That is true. But with that being said, what about Kyle Lowry? I mean, look, that guy's been a no-show too. So, and with Kawhi Leonard, we all know that he's probably going to exit after this year. There's really not a lot of incentive for him to want to go back to a situation like he's in when he has no second fiddle. And Siakam is a great. He's probably a great number 3, but if that's got to be your number 2, I think you're in a little bit of trouble.
From watching him improve as a rookie, to what he's done now, I think this guy is more than just another player. I think he's not there yet, but I think he will be a second in very short order.
Okay. I think that's fair, but I'm just saying if you're Kawhi Leonard and you have Kyle Lowry who repeatedly doesn't show up in the postseason, he chokes, if you will, and then like I said, Siakam, a guy that is an up and comer, and don't get me wrong, I agree with you, the improvement is ridiculous. He's added the 3-point shot. The guy gives you a little bit of everything. He's very active. I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but what's the incentive for Kawhi Leonard when you know that your time is kind of going, you want it now if you're Kawhi Leonard.
Right. I mean, the East is open. And it's probably open to all four of these teams.
I agree.
But if you don't get what they need, it just makes it worse for the teams. They are I think a minus 57 without Leonard on the court. And people are screaming, well, he needs to play 48 minutes. I don't agree with that. You have a bench.
Yeah.
And how effective is a guy coming off a major injury? He's a year removed from that injury. How effective is he going to be in minute 47 if he plays the entire game?
No, I agree. I agree.
There's so many other people that need to step up. Danny Green has disappeared.
I'm with you. What about Marc Gasol? I mean, he's got to play better too, right?
Oh, much better. They're guarding him with Tobias Harris. And that's not only a coaching thing, but that's also the fault of the players on the floor. Get him the ball.
I agree.
If you're going to guard me with a 225-pound guy, I'm going to post up and you get me the ball.
I'm with you. That's the voice of Richard Anselmo, people. NBA Insider joining me here on Dorf On Sports, the weekend edition. Hey, let me ask you this. What have you seen from Giannis in the last couple of games that's changed for him? Obviously, Game 1 was a real struggle, like we talked a little bit about Paul Pierce, but it was a real struggle. What did he and the Milwaukee Bucks figure out in Game 2 and 3?
Their movement's been a lot better, and they got him away from Al Horford 100% of the time. Horford has a history of this. I mean, he's done this. He does it to Embiid constantly.
Yep.
He can play against bigger guys and frustrate them. And he was frustrating Giannis. I think the Bucks' movement in Games 2 and 3 was so much better. And other people are hitting shots, which didn't happen in Game 1.
Yeah, no, I agree. You mentioned Al Horford, and I agree with you so much. The guy is the ultimate pro. I think he's a pro's pro, if you will. That's Boston's secret weapon as far as having that ultimate pro. Milwaukee's ultimate pro is George Hill. I mean, like you said, guys hitting shots. George Hill was one of those guys hitting shots. Connaughton hitting shots for the Milwaukee Bucks, especially when Bledsoe. Look, man, he's been a no-show against Boston 2 times now. I mean, there's something going on in his head with Rozier, with Kyrie. These guys are they're able to get at him in a way where we really haven't seen all season long. And Eric Bledsoe's been very good all year, but when it comes to playing Boston, he struggles, man.
And I don't understand why. He's certainly athletic enough to deal with Boston's guards, and he's not even facing Marcus Smart, which should be a plus.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they're missing Brogdon.
Absolutely.
Because they need him for a certain amount of minutes, and he does calm that team down for a young player.
Well, he's the glue. And you can make the argument that both of these teams are missing their glue, right? Marcus Smart could be the glue for Boston, and Brogdon could be the glue for Milwaukee.
Very true.
Yeah.
And yet I still think this series could go the distance.
I agree. It's one of those deals where, this is one of those series where you've had a road team be able to win, twice already. Boston's won once, Milwaukee's won once, so home court hasn't really meant much. I do think it does play a factor, as the series goes on, and ultimately that could be the difference this year versus last year for Milwaukee if they are to advance.
True. They didn't have it last year and still took Boston to 7 games.
Let's shift gears. Let's talk a little Portland and Denver. That Game 3 was just off the hook. I mean, the 4 overtimes, the great play, back and forth. The Western Conference in general, man. What 2 series that are both really good.
They had no love for East Coast people during that game, though. I just wanted someone to win it at one point. It was, You played a game and a half, a little more. I mean, that takes a lot out of people. I think that's an advantage to Portland.
I agree.
Considering they're at home.
Did Jokic log, 65 minutes, something like that?
65. McCollum had 60.
After the game, I loved the way McCollum was talking to the reporter. He said, "I was built for this," right? He said, "I'm not tired. I can go more."
I wish I could say that.
No, but in general, man,
I was exhausted just watching
After all that emotion, right, of playing that game, how else is he going to come out there? He's so jacked up at that point.
And that is also very, very tough on the team that loses.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I wonder how Denver responds. We're talking about teams not winning on the road or winning on the road, whatever it is, and a series not being a series. But how do you respond after a game like that, right? I mean, I don't care if you win or lose that game. Both ways, how do you respond to that?
I think Portland has an advantage. I think we haven't seen the best of McCollum and Lillard yet. Despite the fact they both had great numbers, they didn't shoot well.
Yeah.
And if they do this at home, that could really turn this series. Now, having said that, it's the first real test for Denver for taking a home loss and then losing a game like this. That's hard.
I agree. Hey, can you hang tight on the through the break, and let's continue the conversation on the other side?
Sure.
All right, that's the voice of Richard Anselmo, NBA insider, hanging out with the Dorf Man right here on the Dorf On Sports Weekend Edition. Got to take a quick pause for the cause. We'll be back, everybody. We'll continue rapping about the NBA.
You're listening to Dorf On Sports here on your favorite app. Now, here's Andy.
All right, everybody. Welcome back in 1-800-878-7529. You can always hit me up on Twitter. It's Dorf On Sports or Dorf Online. Check out the website, too, dorfonsportsradio.com. And I do thank the Heartland Newsfeed for picking us up as well here on today's program. And I believe they'll be starting to pick us up today and every Sunday moving forward. So do appreciate them, Heartland Newsfeed. Little shout out for you people. Continuing with my NBA insider, Richard Anselmo. Again, I want to get back into this Denver-Portland for a moment. And here's my big issue with Denver. I feel like they don't have the ultimate go-to guy, closer guy, like Portland does in Dame Lillard. And then if he's not going well, they've got McCollum to go to too. So pretty nice luxury to have if you're Portland. Whereas Denver, is it the Joker? Is it Murray? Is it Harris? Is it Millsap? Like, who's going to take that big shot? And I think that ultimately, Richard, to me, that's what separates them from a team like Golden State or even Portland at this point. They've got guys that are closers and guys that want the ball to be a closer at that point. I'm not saying that guys don't want the ball for Denver, but it's a matter of kind of like a hot potato. Who's going to get the ball and who's going to do that for them?
If they're smart, it's Murray.
I agree, because he is that closer. I agree, man. That he's a stone-cold killer. I agree with that.
He has that instinct about him. But the funny thing with that team in general is Jokic is usually there. His numbers they're good. They're very good. He plays a good game, but you could have a different second every night. Getting to your point, one night it could be Barton. One night it could be Millsap. They do have scoring that can come from a lot of places, but it does need to be Murray late in games.
I agree. I think that's your guy, and he's the guy who has the ball in his hands the most. So you want that guy taking clutch shots for you. Let's think about this. Does Denver win Game 4 today, and if they do, obviously it puts them in the driver's seat to have home court advantage again and potentially take this thing in 7. If they lose today, I mean, I'm sorry, but wow, I really think Portland could be getting to the Western Conference Finals, and I don't necessarily know if I would have said that before the season started.
Oh, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have come close, even though I kind of liked the team. The surprise with Portland with me is the way Cantor has played. He has really helped that team.
Collins as well, huh?
Yes. Between the two of them, in Game 2, when Lillard had the off game, they combined for 25 and 15 rebounds.
Yeah.
So the center position, I won't say they're not missing Nurkic, who was traded for Jokic, by the way.
Crazy.
Which is interesting, but Cantor's really picked it up, as has Collins.
Yeah, no, I agree. Enes Kanter, a guy that can play on the block, and he gives him just a really tough defender in there, and a guy that, he's not going to take any crap. I agree with you 100%. And Collins has been great, man. The guy can hit the outside shot. He can rise above the rim. He gets you big rebounds. No, their bigs have been playing tremendous. And in a weird way, I agree with you. I mean, I don't think we've seen the best of the combination of Lillard and McCollum. Maybe we've seen some great individual play. I mean, especially, the way he sent Oklahoma City packing and, just some of the big shots that he hits all the time for Portland. But maybe the combination of those two guys, like literally going off in a game together, maybe we haven't seen that quite yet.
We haven't. And the thing with both of them on the floor at once is, if you're playing a guard that doesn't really play great defense, where do you hide him?
You can't. You can't. You just can't hide them because those guys will just eat them up. So, no, I agree with you. Hey, but speaking of those two guys and how good they potentially can be, what's going on with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson? Those guys, I mean, they're definitely struggling. Is it just a matter of, I mean, in a weird way, like, I'm sitting there watching Houston and Golden State yesterday, and I'm like saying to myself, I just feel like Golden State goes in and out of being interested. Do you feel the same way?
I do. I think they have been doing this for so long. And a lot of that is missing Cousins. He's the one that doesn't have the ring. He's the one that was pushing during the season to really be into this and play hard because he wanted the ring.
See,
I think it hurts without him being there. Everybody else there is used to this.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, because in a weird way, maybe I'm wrong, and if I am, I can admit it. But when I was seeing what was going on with how they were able to play the pick and roll against the Clippers, right, and he was struggling big time. They were all struggling, and I'm talking about DeMarcus Cousins. I almost thought it was like a blessing in disguise that this guy winds up going out for them because he doesn't play the pick and roll well, and defensively they were really bad with him. Obviously, he's going to give him another scoring punch. I know that. I'm not stupid, but I kind of felt like it was addition by subtraction in a weird way if you don't have this guy on the floor, because defensively, in a lot of cases, he can be a liability.
On the defensive end, it is. You're not wrong in saying that. It's depth is what it kills.
Yeah.
And it's a team that didn't have a lot of depth anyway. And something else I never thought I'd say, before the playoffs started, the Clippers were a terrible matchup for Cousins.
Yeah, well, but with that being said, Bogut's played well, Looney's played well. It seems like they know their role pretty well, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, I didn't know how much they were expecting out of Bogut, but he surprised me.
Well, and then Iguodala, you can bring that guy off the bench, or you can start him in the Hamptons 5, right? I mean, look, he it seems like every team has that ultimate pro. Boston's got Al Horford, Milwaukee's got George Hill, Golden State, they've got Iguodala, man. I'm sorry, but that's I'll put him in that class too. He's the ultimate pro.
And he's done it for years.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people don't even know what kind of a player he was in Philly early in his career. He was an all-star.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what he's done is he's sacrificed for the other guys the most. Like when you think about it, we hear about Durant, we hear about Curry, we hear about those guys. But Iguodala he's taken less money to play there. He's taken a back seat to guys to let them be in the spotlight. And he's that ultimate pro, man.
He's at that stage in his career too, where he's done it. Now he wants rings.
Yeah, and look, I'll go this way. Paul Millsap, he's that ultimate pro for Denver, right?
Yes.
Who does Toronto have? Do they have that ultimate pro? Does Philly have that ultimate pro? Is that what they're missing? Maybe.
Toronto, I would have said Ibaka, but he hasn't shown it either.
Yeah,
none of them. Gasol, Green, Ibaka, Lowry, none of them have shown it.
I mean, I honestly forgot about Ibaka, right? I mean, seriously, he's the forgotten man right now.
The way he's played, it's not hard to do. He has just been bad.
So speaking of that, if you're the Toronto Raptors coach and he's supposed to be a different guy, right? Then he can do things differently, allegedly. If Kyle Lowry is struggling, do you go to Van Vliet or no?
I don't know if he will. I would just to change things up. Van Vliet hasn't been that bad.
No, he's not bad. He's real good.
No, in the limited minutes he's gotten in this series, he hasn't played badly at all.
No.
I would. I just don't think he's going to.
And if Siakam can't go, I think Philly winds up getting a commanding lead in this series.
This is where the Raptors miss OG Anunoby.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Great point.
It's where they're missing the bench guy. I don't know if it would make any sense to go with Gasol and Ibaka, because that's two big men you have to worry about getting pulled away from the basket.
Yeah, and they're going to struggle defending, obviously, on the perimeter.
And one of them would have to check Harris, which would be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
For either one.
That's like having a big man on roller skates, right?
Right. I don't know what they do without Siakam. I mean, Anunoby would have made sense, but with him out, they're a lot thinner. That's a big part of their bench gone.
We haven't talked about Durant and his performance so far in these playoffs. Guy's been unbelievable, right?
How much is there to say? He's otherworldly.
Yeah.
You can't stop him. He can get his shot off against anyone. He looks almost effortless when he's doing this. Now, it helps that the Rockets are playing, front court guys that are 6'4" and 6'5".
Yeah, totally. When he's going up against Eric Gordon or James Harden, right? I mean, he's got to win that matchup.
And he will, and he has.
Yeah, but I'm saying if he doesn't...
Even in a loss last night, he threw in, look how many points he threw at 46.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's all he needs is a little help from either Curry or Clay, right? Just a little bit of help, and they wind up winning that game.
Oh, absolutely. And I think in the next game he'll get it from Thompson. Thompson's streaky.
He is.
He has these moments where he could throw up 50 points in a night, and then he has moments where he shoots 6 for 20. You just never know which moment you're going to get.
What do you make of Steph not having the elevation, the lift to put that dunk in at the end of the game? And then what do you think about the way that they wound up playing the last few seconds of that game? What was up?
I didn't understand it at all.
Me neither.
Considering this is a guy that might dunk twice a year, lay it up. Don't try it. Just take the 2 points, and you're down by 1.
Yeah, I mean, was that fatigue? Like, what was that?
It could have been. It shouldn't have been. He usually runs all day.
Yeah, it was bizarre. And then again, like not fouling at the end of the game there, you have to stop the clock. I don't get it. It was very similar to San Antonio, Denver, right?
I was just going to say that. Maybe they watched the Spurs game again. It was bad. You have to foul in that situation. You have to find Capella right away. Or foul anyone at that point. I mean, if you can avoid fouling Harden,
I agree,
perfect,
man.
But you have to foul someone.
Hey, I got to take another pause for the cause, Richard, and then I got to wrap things up. Really appreciate you taking time out with me today, man.
Anytime. You know I enjoy it.
Oh, I love talking to you, man. You're quality. Richard Anselmo, NBA insider, hanging out with the Dorf man here, giving me some quality moments as I just happen to say, look, I need to get a guest. I'm calling Richard, and we're going to talk some NBA. So I got to take a quick pause for the cause. I'll come back and wrap things up. It is the Dorf on Sports Weekend Edition. I'm Andy Dorf. I'll be back.
This is Dorf on Sports.
All righty, everybody, coming at you for the final time here today on a Sunday, which I'm always live every Sunday morning, 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then I come back late night doing the Weekend Recap in Sports Overnight America. I start that out at 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so check me out later for that too. But as always, appreciate Mike Wilson taking time out with me. He's my radio partner, tag team in crime, usually each and every week. Wasn't feeling so great. Let him off the hook a little bit early today. And then do appreciate Richard Anselmo joining me, talking some NBA basketball, NBA insider. I love talking NBA basketball with him. And then obviously Scott on the other side for making everything possible for me, man. Truly appreciate you, man. But anyways, get at me always. It's Dorf on Sports or Dorf Online. Those are how you can get me on Twitter. Check out the website, too. It's dorfonsportsradio.com. Always leave you with a parting shot of some kind, some way, shape, or form. Today's going to be no different. Going to be about the NBA, man. NBA basketball. Every series, 2-1. It doesn't matter if you win on the road or you win at home. Don't listen to all the hype or the nonsense about a series is only a series when you've won on somebody else's court. Well, if the series goes 7 and everybody wins at home, we still had ourselves one hell of a series. So I'm tired of hearing people say a series isn't a series until a road team wins. It can be a series if the home team wins every damn game. And hopefully, in most cases, in all these cases, hopefully these all go 7 games. I don't care how it gets there. Let's just go 7 games. Let's see every team being taken to the brink of elimination and making everything be on the line for their team and their hometown and everything else about it, man. And you know what? Let's go Milwaukee Bucks, baby. That's my hometown. That's my team. That's my skin in the game. Anyways, I hear the music. Got to get the heck out of Dodge, so I'm going to do that. Peace, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday. I'm Andy Dorf. It was the Dorf on Sports Weekend Edition.
Guess what?
What?
This, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our show.
May we do it again sometime?
Bye-bye.